If I can have your attention here in the deadline room, we'll go ahead and start our pre-race media availability for Sunday Citizen Soldier 400. And we're joined by Chris Buescher, driver of the number 34 CSX Play It Safe Ford for Front Row Racing. Chris, coming in here, a lot of pressure to advance on to the next round of the chase. How has this chase experience been for you so far?
Yeah, it's been a good experience. We've learned a lot through it. We look at Dover as one of the or the last race of this round, and we really don't have anything to lose. Chicago and Loudon weren't the races that we wanted to have, and we come into Dover, one of my favorite racetracks. It looks like the weather's clearing out, and we should be able to get all of the festivities in today. So. I'm excited to get on track. This should be a place where we can really have a good run and see if we can advance to that next round. It's going to be tough at this point, but this is probably our best racetrack out of this round. So I'm excited to get rolling.
Outstanding. We'll go ahead and open up the floor to questions. If you have a question for Chris, please raise your hand. We'll get a wireless microphone to you. We'll start here up front with Bob.
Bob Pocker, ESPN. Would you rather get practice in, or would you rather, and then qualifying, or would you rather, practice get rained out or delayed, and then you'd start where you are in owner points?
We definitely want to get everything in today. The way the weather looks right now, I feel like track will be dry within the next hour and a half, 2 hours, and we'll be able to get rolling on schedule. So I think it's going to be best to be able to get practice. We'll go out there and qualify and see where that starts us off, and we'll go from there.
Additional questions? We'll go back to Kenny.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Chris, you said this is kind of a race that you guys go into with nothing to lose. How is that different from when you started the chase 2 weeks ago?
I hate to say it like this, but it's kind of nice to be able to go into a race and just worry about doing the best you can and getting that finish and being able to take chances and not worry about if it doesn't work out. It's the racing that you're able to do at the beginning of the year before you're too worried about the end of the points, leading up to the chase. So we've been in a lot of points racing situations over the last 2 years, and to be able to have a handful where we can go out and like we said, we really don't have anything to lose here today. All we have to do is gain. So to me, it's going to make it to where we're able to go out here and not worry about it. Take some chances, try and utilize some risk and see if we can pull something off.
What is it about the Monster Mile that really suits your driving style?
The way I always describe it is it's like a roller coaster ride. I just like the concrete surface. It reminds me a little bit of Bristol. It's obviously its own animal, but just something about it that we've been able to run really well at over the past couple of years. And I don't have a whole lot of races under my belt here, but we've always seemed to make it out. And it's definitely that place that can get you in trouble in a hurry. And I've been really close to a lot of those situations, but. It's just a cool racetrack. It's extremely fast. The landing, getting down in the corner, is something that we usually don't talk about. So, just an added curve in what we're trying to get accomplished for the weekend.
So, it's CSX, play it safe. But do you play it safe on Sunday? Or are you going to be aggressive on the racetrack?
No, we really don't have to. So that's probably not what they want me to say, but. We really don't have to play it safe at all. We can go out here. We can try and gamble on fuel. We can take 2 tires if we feel it's decent in practice. We have a endless amount of options that are open for us right now because where we're at, and last 2 weeks have not been what we wanted. They've been tough on us, but and it's put us in a situation now where the only way to go is up, and that means we can take whatever chance we feel is necessary, and we want to make sure it's beneficial or could be very beneficial. We don't want to do something that's just crazy and obviously isn't going to work. So there will be a little bit of planning and strategy to it, but we can we don't have to play it safe at all.
Good deal. Any additional questions for Chris? We'll go to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. Chris, who do you rely on as a mentor, or who do you look to, or who do you talk with, driver-wise, or who is a driver that has maybe come up to you and kind of offered advice as still being a relatively young driver?
Yeah, I think teammates are the first one that you bring up. With Landon this year, being a new teammate to me, and then with the affiliation with Roush Fenway, we pretty much all talk as a group several times during the weekend, and then we do our debriefs during the week. So, those are the guys that we lean on now. And then David Reagan is also a good friend of mine that's been able to offer up a lot of advice through the years.
Any additional questions for Chris? Well, Chris, good luck on Sunday, and stay dry out there.
You got it. Thank you.
If I could have your attention here in the deadline room, we will continue on with pre-race media availability for Sunday's Citizen Soldier 400. We are now joined by Chase Elliott, driver of the number 24 Mountain Dew Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports. And Chase, if you win on Sunday, not only do you automatically advance into the chase for the NASCAR Sprint Cup round of 12, but I heard tell that Little Caesars will be giving away one free $5 hot and ready lunch combo featuring a 20-ounce Mountain Dew to every customer who comes in on October 11th. So there's no pressure on your shoulders this week.
No, not at all. So really cool to be carrying the Mountain Dew colors this weekend. They have such a cool brand, and they've been doing some really cool stuff with us this year through commercials, advertising, and then definitely this deal with Little Caesars to give away a free lunch combo on October 11th if we can pull it off this weekend. So just proud to be a part of their brand, and really excited to have them on the car. They're such a great group of people, and have been awesome to work with. So we appreciate it and looking forward to the race.
Outstanding. We'll open the floor to questions. If you have questions for Chase, please raise your hand. We will get a wireless microphone to you. Questions for Chase Elliott. We'll start in the back with Tom Jensen. He's in a different area code. I don't know if you can see him back there.
It is way back there.
Hey, Chase. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com. Since this is your first chase, how has the actual experience differed or been similar to what your expectations were coming in?
Yeah, it's been, I think this first round to me has been similar to races that we've seen throughout the year, I guess just kind of regularly. I don't think the intensity of a lot of the guys that have experience in this deal, I don't think it has been ramped up quite to the point that it will be, depending upon if you make it further in. I think the further you get into it, the more it's going to ramp up for sure. And then obviously when guys are put in certain situations, their intensity is going to ramp up individually, as you see. Like last year, this race last year was a big race for that. So I think a lot of it is situational, but to me, this first round has been pretty normal as far as the races go, and how I've seen people driving and whatnot. I feel like it's been pretty similar to the races throughout the year. So like I said, I think if you make it further into the deal, it'll ramp up, I'm sure. I mean, it has to as you start eliminating more guys and it gets down to a smaller group of people.
It will come up front. All the way up front.
I suppose I could just yell it.
Yeah,
You probably could, but they wouldn't be able to hear it on NASCAR.com.
I understand. Rich Culberth, Motor Racing Network. We're headed to Charlotte next week. It's going to be at night. Do you see that race being better during the day, and what do you expect when we get there next week?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I'm trying to think. So we ran the Showdown race event leading into the All-Star race during the day, and it was, I thought it was a fun race, but I thought the race that night was fun too. So I don't know. I think it's tough to say. I guess, was it last year that race got rained out and they ran it during the day? I can't remember, but it seems like it's going to put on a good show, I feel like, at night. And the thing about Charlotte is it just picks up so much speed when that sun goes down. Whatever they did on the surface of that racetrack and how when they repaved it, it just seems like the grip when the sun goes down is like it was when it was new. I never raced on it when it was new, but it sure does have a lot of grip. So that's interesting to me, and I think that as you as you get into nighttime, that's why we see the speeds pick up so much. And if a guy can get his car driving right, around the bottom of the racetrack, that's definitely going to be the place to be. So it's tough to say. I haven't run a whole lot of day races there, and I haven't, other than the showdown, I haven't done one in a cup car during the day, really. So it'd be interesting, but we're kind of into that part of the year where it's starting to cool off. So I don't know that it would make that big of a difference now this time of year as it would if it was in the summer.
Go next to Jeff.
Jeff Clark from USA Today. Chase, Dale Jr. is going to be at the track this weekend. It sounds like on his podcast that he's hesitant to come in some of these races because he thinks he's in the way or something. But does it boost team morale to have him around? Does it lift everybody's spirits?
Yeah, I think so. I hope so. I mean, we obviously all want him to be back and to be getting better. And I don't know a ton about what he's had going on. I know he's been doing a lot of sponsor obligations and things of that sort, and making sure he stayed true to his commitments, which I think is pretty cool and tough to do. I'm sure in his situation to just be doing that stuff and not be racing. So have a lot of respect for him on that front, and I definitely think so, especially the 88 group. I mean, for those guys to see him at the racetrack and they're supporting them, I'm sure it has to mean a lot to those guys. And I think as a company it does, but definitely centered around the 88 group, I 100% think it would for sure.
Go next to Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Chase, Jimmie was saying on Wednesday that he felt as if, barring any mistakes, that you or him will make the final round. As long as you guys execute, he feels like the speed has been there the first two races, that you guys – a Hendrick car should make the championship round. Do you feel the same way assessing the first two races, that you or the 48 should make it?
I definitely feel like we have an opportunity to get there for sure. I think we've been fast enough these first 2 weeks to get there. I think a lot of it's just going to depend on, just being fast doesn't guarantee you to make it to this next round. So, for us, I was really proud of the way we ran last weekend. We ran inside the top 5 the majority of the day. That was a huge improvement for our group. Loudon's a terrible racetrack for me, so I was really, really happy with just the fact that we were able to be kind of in that group. I don't think we had anything for Martin or Matt or Kevin there at the end, but and you just never know how those races are going to play out. I had a bad restart there at the end, and the guys on tires end up getting to you with those cautions, and you just got to play defense sometimes. And in those situations, I know we didn't get the finish we were hoping for, but at the same time, you got to look at the other outcome. You could have been wrecked and sitting in the garage there at the end. So you kind of have to look at that both ways. And when you're playing defense, that's easy. It's easy to be sitting in the garage pretty quickly. So I 100% think our group or Jimmie's group can make it. I feel confident in that. I think we've been fast enough these first 2 weeks to do it, but obviously you got to have some things go your way throughout this deal, and you got to execute your races and try to stay mistake free.
Do we have any additional questions? We'll go next to Dustin.
Dustin Long, NBC Sports. When you talk about having this additional speed the last couple races, is as much you guys are just better getting through the corner, can get through the corners quicker like the Toyotas have, or is it straight line speed? Where you guys kind of been able to pick up as an organization the last few weeks?
You're not going to like my answer, but it's honestly a little bit of both. I know that our engine department's been working really hard. I think that you see their improvements across the board, not just Hendrick cars, but I have a lot of respect for Mr. Hendrick and everybody at the engine shop for making their engine program so fair. I think they do a really, really good job of making it fair across the board, from our 4 team cars to the Stewart-Haas cars to the Ganassi cars. Everybody is getting good stuff, and I think when you see an improvement in the engine shop, you're going to see that across the board, and I think we've seen that the past couple weeks. So I think there's definitely something there. I know from the chassis side and some of the things we've had going on there, the body side, I know Alan and our group has been pushing really, really hard on that front, trying to improve, trying to get the best stuff we can get pumped out of the shop and to the racetrack. So I think it's a little bit of both, to be honest with you, and I think we're moving in the right direction on some items that I think we've been missing, and that's encouraging to me.
Any additional questions for Chase? Well, Chase, thanks for taking the time to join us this morning, and good luck this weekend.
Yep, thank you, guys. Have a good one.
If I could have everybody's attention here in the deadline room, we will continue on with pre-race media availability for Sunday's Citizen Soldier 400. And we're now joined by Jimmie McMurray, driver of the #1 Credit One Chevrolet for Chip Ganassi Racing. Jimmie, you had an incredible run here last fall. Fell just a little short of getting to the next round of the chase. 2 questions. 1, do you feel like you have another incredible run in you? And 2, do you think that'll be enough to get you into the next round?
Yeah, last year was a lot of fun getting to race with the 88 and kind of knowing that I had to finish ahead of him in order to advance to the next round. And he was ahead on one restart, I'd be ahead on the next. So that was a fun battle. As far as this year, I mean, we don't know until you get on the track. You don't know the circumstances, how they're going to play out. I feel like the chase hasn't had the drama that it normally does up to this point. So if you're a guy on the outside, looking in, trying to advance to the next round, you're hoping it's a fairly dramatic race and that there's something happens big with somebody up front that's going to shake it up a little.
And that can happen here.
It can happen for sure here.
We'll go ahead and open the floor up for questions. If you have a question, we'll get a wireless mic to you. We'll start here with Nate.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Always works. Jimmie, you just mentioned that you feel like the chase hasn't had as much drama, and I think that would be general consensus among many in this room as well. Any reason for that? Is there anything that's different that you see this year versus last year?
No, I mean, I think it's just hard to it's like trying to have a good finish in every single race. You're not going to have that, and that's what makes the the exciting finishes so great. We just haven't. I guess circumstantial. We just haven't. I thought Loudon. Normally the restarts at Loudon, somebody always gets tangled up, and the fact that that's one of the first chase races, I think there's usually some drama there. Normally somebody runs out of gas at a place like Loudon. We just didn't have that this year. Dover, though, is one of those tracks that it's typically if there is an accident on the track, it collects a lot of people, and they're normally wrecks that people have to go to the garage, and it's hard to repair your car. So this is one of those places that we could have that, and you could shake it up a little bit. But other than the first 2 races, I mean, I guess just circumstantial, and just wasn't there yet.
We'll go to David and then the Rich.
David Scott from the Charlotte Observer. Jamie, you talked about odd things happening, like with Jimmie last year here with the copper dollar part that went on him. Has anything odd like you, or what's the weirdest thing that's ever happened to you like that in a key situation that you can remember?
Probably am not comfortable talking about the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me. I don't know. I guess we've all had something, an inexpensive part cost you a race. That's why details are so important with the race teams, and you pay attention to everything when assembling a car. But I think everybody's had that happen to them. It's certainly more unfortunate when it happens in a race that's so critical like this one is. But I think everybody's had something simple like that knock them out.
Go up front to Rich.
Jamie, Rich Culbreth, the Motor Racing Network. You're going to Charlotte next week. You're a couple-time winner there. What does it take to win at that track?
Well, long races. When I think of both Charlotte races, they 500 and 600 mile races. They both typically start when it's you have a little bit of change in the track. The first race because the sun's out. The second race typically because it gets pretty cool by the end of the race. So I think just being able to keep up with the track and having a good car. When I look back to the spring race and how dominant the 78 was, throughout the entire race, that's pretty amazing. And you typically don't see guys do that at Charlotte. I feel like you normally have somebody that qualifies well and can lead the early part of the race, but then at the halfway point, you typically have somebody that's either started mid-pack or towards the rear that gets their car right and is able to be the winner.
Do we have additional questions for Jamie? Well, Jamie, good luck this weekend and have a good time.
Good morning, everyone. We're going to continue our media availabilities this morning, and we've now been joined by Jimmie Johnson, driver of the number 48 Lowe Chevrolet. And Jimmie, obviously Dover is one of your best racetracks on the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series schedule. And last year you guys encountered a little bit of bad luck, and then this year you come in a really solid position to make it to the next round. Just talk about those two elements and how you guys will approach this weekend.
Excited to be back at my best racetrack, without a doubt. I think last year shows that you really can't count on a racetrack always being kind to a driver or always working in their favor. So it's part of racing. I've learned it through many different lessons over my racing career. Last year, I think, kind of showed everybody once again that you just can't you can't take a race or a track for granted for anybody. We're back with high hopes. Love being here. Glad to see the weather moving out so that we can get on the racetrack today. And I think it's going to be a tricky day on the track. The track will be very green, very fast, and then these winds are definitely going to give us a hard time in the race cars.
All right, we're going to go ahead and open for questions for Jimmie. If you have one, please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation, and we'll start up front with Claire.
Claire Beeline, Sirius XM NASCAR Radio. You said a tricky day on the track, but you're so dang good here. So does that give you an advantage, or does that throw off what you know here, that it's going to be tricky and different, you know?
Yeah, I think the two tricky elements will be the fact that the track is so green. Race day, this track takes a lot of rubber and drives totally different and requires a different setup. So trying to be patient with your setup. I mean, we all know how we want our cars to feel in the race. Come with our ideas built on a mid-race balance that's needed. And then you show up and the track is green, it's cool. And then the wind's hard to count on, because if it's a consistent wind is one thing and you can kind of adjust to it and get into a rhythm of it, but the gusts are what really cause a problem. So between those two elements, I'm just going to remind myself all day long what I think I will need for Sunday, and just try to live with, maybe a little less lap time than I would want today in comparison to the field, and really focus on a feel in the race car.
All right, we'll go to Jeff and then Nate.
Jeff Gluck from USA Today. Dale Jr. is coming back, and I think it's going to be his first race watching at the track. I think the other ones he'd come and then left the track. Will that be a morale boost to have him around at all? And have you noticed that he's going around and doing all the sponsor stuff still? And what's your impression of all that?
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Dale away from the racetrack, and I completely understand how difficult it is to come to the track and feel productive. But I guess many of you haven't had a chance to see him in our team meetings, at the shop, various ways that we interact, and being a part of the discussion from week to week of what's happened and what we're getting ready for the next week. And he's been deeply involved in all of that. I can only imagine how hard it is to come to the track and watch a car race, and then also how boring it would be, because we do have the coolest job to sit in that race car, and then just to come to a track and watch, I don't know if I could do it. So I'm great from a public perception that he's coming, and people can really see how hard he's working and kind of tie that together with his recovery process. But I've seen a lot of him. I know he's dying to get back in the race car, eager to feel amazing again, and I think he's on a great road of progress right now.
All right, Nate, go ahead.
Nate Ryan, NBC Sports. Jamie McMurray was in here a few minutes ago, and he said that he felt like the chase didn't have as much drama through the first two races as he was expecting, particularly with like restarts at New Hampshire. There wasn't the normal chaos. Does it seem that way to you? I mean, you've been in every playoff since this began. Does it seem as if it's been a little bit more low-key through the first two races, and if so, any reason why?
I guess it just depends on your own environment. We had plenty of drama at Chicago. Super hyped to lead laps and thought we had a chance to win. Made a mistake on pit road, then failed LIS following the race, then points are given back. So my Chicago was about as exciting as any Chicago I've ever had personally. Last weekend was plenty tense for me. We started the first half very competitive, lost some track position, and then Loudon was very challenging for me to try to get back through. So from where I was sitting, I had plenty of challenges, and it felt like a typical pressure-packed start to the chase.
All right, Tom, go ahead.
Hi, Jimmie. Tom Jensen, FoxSports.com, way in the back. Just to
back
follow up on Nate's question, there's been drama for you, but the buzz from the fans is there hasn't been much. Do you expect the intensity to pick up this round or this race and subsequent rounds?
It's so hard to make everybody happy. I mean, it actually frustrates me to hear that might be the the response. It's just tough to make everybody happy. I guess that's all I got.
Any additional questions for Jimmie? All right, Jimmie, we appreciate your time and we wish you the best of luck this weekend.
Thank you.
Hey, good morning. We're going to continue with our media availabilities here at Dover with Erik Jones, driver of the number 20 GameStop Rise of the Tomb Raider 20-year celebration Toyota. That is a mouthful this weekend. And Erik, just to kind of kick off our question this morning, obviously last week at Kentucky, round 1 of the NASCAR Xfinity Series chase did not go as planned for your team. Talk a little bit about your mindset going into this weekend, but also with this being the inaugural year of the Chase for Xfinity Series, talk a little bit about how that's been so far, even though last week didn't go quite as planned.
Yeah, I mean, it's been fun so far. Obviously only one race in, but not the finish we wanted, but had a really fast car and had one that could have won the race, but ended up being our own biggest enemy in that one. So hopefully we can get it back on track here at Dover. Another really good racetrack for us, one where we did get a win here earlier this year, so I think it's a track where we can hopefully repeat and grab another win. But in all honesty, we're only, I think, 3 points out of the cutoff right now. So as long as we run, top 10 here in the next 2 weeks, we'll be just fine. But it's not always as easy as it sounds. So we just need to go out, do our job, and execute correctly.
All right. We'll go ahead and take questions for Erik. If you have one, please raise your hand and state your name and affiliation. Any questions for Erik? We'll start with Jessica.
Jessica Ruffin, NASCAR.com. Obviously, you've got 2 more races to get back up into the top 8 before the elimination. How do you go about balancing knowing you want to contend for wins and be in that top part, but also not wanting to mess up your spot in the standings?
Well, it's a fine line. You got to control what you can control, and at Kentucky, I didn't do a very good job of that, and what I can control, and put myself in a situation to make a mistake, and ended up doing that and taking ourselves out. So that's not something we want to do this weekend, and obviously if we can avoid that, we need to. So if we're caught up in something and it's something out of our control, that's nothing we can do about that. But we still need to put ourselves in a good position, in one where we're running up front and hopefully in the mix for a win. And if we can do that, I think we'll be just fine.
Additional questions for Erik? All right, we'll go to Kenny next.
Kenny Bruce with NASCAR.com. Erik, did anything from last week and maybe surprise you as far as the guys you were racing against, and that maybe now, okay, we're in the chase, these guys are running a little better, and we really haven't noticed them before, or these guys struggled and we didn't expect them to struggle, or do you even know what the other guys are doing out there?
No, I wouldn't say anything was too surprising. I think we were exceptionally fast last weekend and didn't really capitalize on it. Nobody really stood out. I guess the only thing that surprised me was that Elliott ended up winning that race. He said himself he wasn't very good that weekend, and they ended up in position to win. So that was neat for them. But I think the contenders were the same that you've seen over the last month or so. We were fast. Daniel was fast, and the junior motorsports cars were pretty good all night. And I think we'll be the same kind of field all the way until the end of the year, depending on who makes it through the rounds and how the races play out. But nothing really stood out as being too surprising to me at Kentucky.
Additional questions for Erik? All right. Well, we appreciate your time this morning. We wish you the best of luck this weekend.
All right. Thank you.